Hello and welcome to Everything with Jojo. Today I will be talking about my experience in getting a visa to Nigeria. My first time visiting this beautiful country, and I am right here now in Lagos, so I was successful in getting the visa, and I will walk you through the steps to get a visa, and I'll put some links in the description, and please comment and subscribe for more information. So I applied from the UK. There are slightly different rules and things mentioned from different countries. They don't seem to have uniform, but they all come down to a few essentials. So from the UK, first of all, there are different types of visas. In my case, I'm visiting a friend. So it was a visitor visa, which is very similar to tourist visa. There are also business and other types of medical, family visas. I'll share my experience based on visitor/tourist visa. So the first thing you need for these visas is an invitation letter. This is from your host. So in this case, my friend wrote a letter. I'll put an example link in the description. So this is for the consulate, embassy, or high commission to see that you have someone to receive you and look after you and make sure that you return safely. Basically a responsibility for the person. The other thing you need is obviously your passport. Your passport must have at least 6 months validity left on it before you start the journey. If it has less, they won't issue a visa. You have to get a new passport. So I actually have another passport. I have a Swedish passport as well, which I wanted to use. But it expires in 5 months, so I have to use my British passport. The other thing you will need is either proof of accommodation, like from a hotel or Airbnb, or if you're staying with a friend, you basically get your friend to write you staying with them. Then you will need proof that you can maintain yourself financially during your stay. And this is the thing that perhaps Nigeria stands out a bit compared to other African countries. So for that, you need at least 3 months of bank statements. They have to be real bank statements. The instruction says they have to be authentic from your bank, posted. If they're online, they prefer them to be authorized by the bank, either by a stamp or accompanying letters. This is important to keep in mind. The other thing which is really important, which people overlook, is that the statement has to be there has to be a statement up until the week you're traveling. So for instance, if your bank statement was issued on the last of the month and you're traveling on, say, the 15th, you actually have to get 2 weeks of extra statements. So this can be a slight challenge. Most online banks will let you provide your latest statement up until the date. So make sure that you have 3 months plus whatever days there are between the last statements and when you're traveling. And also there has to be at least the equivalent of, for UK, £500 left in your account on your statement, so that they see that you basically can afford to stay. That's another thing to look after. And the next thing you need is 2 passport pictures. You need to submit payment. You have the form that you go to. In the case of UK, the High Commission use a third-party company called OAS Services. They're based in Fleet Street, and these people were very nice when I went there, very professional. It's a bit expensive. I think in my case, I went for the standard service, and because it's over Christmas and mail strikes and things, it took me 2 weeks, but they say about a week. So that's what the expected time is. And the cost eventually landed to about £238 for a single visa, which is considerably more compared to Ghana, for instance, which is around £60–70 for the same thing. Then they have this form you fill out online where they ask you all sort of things, where you work and what countries you visited and your names and date of birth, to make sure the form is correct, because once you've paid and submitted, you don't get the opportunity to correct the form. So that's very important. The other very important thing that you need is a printout of your flight itinerary, your flight booking, that needs to show that you're going out, you're coming back. It has to have your name on it, has to have the airline, and it should have the ticket number or booking reference printed on the actual reservation. So bring that. They see you're going out the back, and then you go to the embassy appointment. Bring all these things. The other thing they wanted me to bring was a self-addressed envelope, which I didn't have, but there was a Snappy Snaps across the street, which were really nice. They gave. I paid about, I think, £11. I got a nice return envelope, and that was it. Then I got my visa 2 weeks later, and here I am. So yeah, that was the process. I think the thing that catches people out, the people have the most questions are about these bank statements. Whether they should be because most banks only do online statement, which is a bit annoying, because they do say to get proper ones. You might get away with online ones, but that will be at the discretion of the immigration officer. They can refuse you based on that. That's what I've seen. So try and get real ones from the banks. In some cases, the banks can print them out in the branch. That will work, or they can post you backdated statements. But again, the statement has to be up until the week you're traveling. So that's very, very important to keep in mind. Other than that, it was a smooth process, and I can recommend it. The other thing also you will need, apart from this whole visa process, is a yellow fever vaccination. This is true for most African countries and other countries around the world. So what they will do is you'll go and get your yellow fever shot, and then they'll give you this booklet, which is a vaccination certificate, and this is valid for life. So you only have to do it once, and it's valid for many countries. The other key thing with this thing, this vaccination certificate, is that it has to be done minimum 10 days before you travel, because it takes 10 days for the vaccine to take effect. So you have to keep that in mind. So get the yellow fever. I would say get the vaccination if you haven't, the moment you think about traveling. And in my case, no side effects. I think you pay between £45 and £65 for the shot, depending on where you go. Some charge more, but you can go to Boots in London. Tottenham Court Road is the best one, but there's loads of pharmacies around to give you yellow fever. And that will also, of course, protect you against yellow fever, which is a problem in some parts. Probably not so much or at all where we are now, but if you travel around, and because they don't know where you're going, they have a requirement. And also, in the case of Nigeria, they won't let you leave the country if you don't have this. So it's important you keep this safe, because they've agreed with other countries not to spread this disease. The COVID restrictions were all lifted on the 12th of December for Nigeria. So you don't need any vaccination, you don't need any tests or anything. The only thing they may ask you to do is to fill out a health declaration form where you say that you don't have fever and so on. If you can't do it online, you can do it at the airport. That's the only thing they need. So, and also when I've been here now, as of January 2023, we've not seen any restrictions anywhere, and we don't see people walking around with these things, face masks and things. So if you're fed up with COVID restrictions, then this is definitely a good destination. There's no requirements whatsoever. The only thing is that, yeah, if you do feel sick, then you shouldn't travel. That's what they say, and that's common sense. So I think that's what it. The other thing is with money and cards is that you may find that there's not as wide acceptance of credit cards and debit cards as there is in other parts of the world. Compared to, say, Ghana, I would say the acceptance is less here, and there may be challenges getting money from ATMs. So that's another thing to keep in mind. And also keep in mind what the current conversion rate is between the Naira, the local currency, and things like dollars and euros, or where you come from, is important. And if you want to use the internet, you may well find most hotels and Airbnbs have that included. But if you need to use a mobile phone, roaming is usually very expensive, and Nigeria doesn't seem to have that great roaming agreements. So you pay through the nose for using your phone. So you can get something called a tourist SIM from big companies like MTN, Nine Networks, and Glow. And that will, I think it's about 16,000 Naira. They have different plans. That will give you internet at a good price and phone for about a week. This is only available to tourists. There is no option to get a regular SIM card because it requires you to have a Nigerian identity number, which of course you won't have as a visitor. So get a tourist SIM. You should be able to get them at the airport, but if not, you can go to an MTN or other mobile vendor's office with your passport. They have to take a copy of that. They will take a copy of that, and then you get a SIM card. So of course, make sure your phone is unlocked so you can receive, you can use foreign SIM cards. Then I would recommend travel insurance as any destination. Nigeria is a standard requirement, so there shouldn't be any excesses. The other thing too is that the insurance is only valid in places of the country which is not against, for UK, this Foreign Office travel advice. So they say that the north of Nigeria, for instance, is considered dangerous. So if you go there, which you shouldn't, then the insurance is a void. That's just keep in mind. But in Lagos and other parts of Nigeria, it's perfectly fine. So I think another thing too is don't drink the tap water, which is true for many countries. So the water is available. It's obviously there's bottled water to buy everywhere. They also sell these little sachet waters, which are fine to drink if you drink a lot of water. And apart from that, enjoy your trip to Nigeria.